I'm ready.
We are now recording the August 16th, 2019 Small Business Accounting Advisors. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. We're going to start out today. I miss Dennis's funny videos. I really wish we could continue with that. I'm sorry that we don't have that.
I know.
Maybe could we do funny, what do they call them, memes? Like,
I don't know what's copyrighted and what's not. I thought I had a handle on it.
Yeah.
But, you know, if YouTube tells me that there's a problem, I have to go with what they say.
If we do a picture.
And no
They
music.
can't see pictures.
But if it's copyrighted, see, that's the
Right.
whole thing.
Yeah.
What happens is
not
every
making
time you use something that's copyrighted or trademarked,
Somebody should get paid
technically
for it.
supposed to give credit to them, show the copyright,
Right.
and maybe pay them a little money for using it.
When I did my session at Accountex about auditing, I had all these funny like cartoons and everything, and I called every single artist, every single,
Make
go.
sure that
even I found it on Pinterest or something. I went back searching to see if I could figure out where it came from originally to cover myself. And and some of them are like, $50. I'm like, seriously?
okay, we'll take
Gina,
you off
I have-
the list.
Gina, I have one that's my picture, so it won't hurt anything. Can I share it?
Sure.
Let's see.
Sure.
How's that?
Oh, that's great.
Because he's not here, I can get away with
That's
it,
a
right?
good way to start Happy Friday.
There's your funny
Fun
picture
with
of the week.
Matthew again. Frank's back are fair game.
He's not here. I can do whatever I want.
That's funny.
He always has to be wary of whatever I happen to see. I just kind of snap it and take it.
Couple announcements about QBOA. Intuit is canceling the Slack integration. That's why I don't even try and attempt to do things with Intuit anymore. How many things have they tried, given it 2 months, and then canceled it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, did you see the
If they
percentages
don't
on it?
cancel it, they buy it.
If they don't
The
cancel
percentage
it,
of people using it was really low. So that's
Yeah.
why they ditched it. That's what they said anyway. It was
But
like
the people
like-
that are using it probably put a lot of time into setup and, to
Remember years
I know.
ago they had like a client management.
they had a client management, they had a
coolest.
file
Oh,
management.
I remember that. Desktop, right?
Yeah.
I was all in on that one, and then it was gone.
Right, exactly.
Mhm.
They're also discontinuing the AAP, Accountant Apps Program. I'm not exactly sure what that program was or what it was supposed to do.
Again, it was very low. I like 1% or something people using it, and
Well, that's
I'm
bad
not sure what
marketing
it was either. I know you could get to apps through on your app page. So I don't know if that means that, or it looked like it said discounts, like we were getting discounts, but I didn't know we were getting discounts. So.
And I never got any discounts either. So
No.
again, but for the people that did know about it and did do it, all of a sudden, pow, their budget's out the window. Thank
Yeah.
you very much. Intuit. QBO Simple Start is now increasing to $25 in October 1st. I would have said it was worth $5, $10, $25. You might as well get the real program. You might as well get the real program and be able to upgrade when you need.
One thing to note, though, I just went through my bill because I've got quite a lengthy bill. I pay for a lot of subscriptions, and they did tell us they were all going up, and all the essentials ones for wholesale went from $17.50 to $20, and all the plus ones went from $30 to $35. So if you have it in your contract where you can raise your clients' rates, you probably want to do that, because I just got my bill and I was charged the higher rate. So it's something to think about. And I found a client on there that I didn't know I had, Like he was one he was one I started with, and I don't think we ever agreed, but I started his file, and I'm like, oh, I think I better find him because it's good to go. My bill is long. It's like almost $900 now a month with the wholesale bill. And yeah, you can kind of lose.
You've been paying for him for a while for free?
Yeah, but well, he paid me, but then we stopped working, and the scope of work stopped because he's never got back to me, and it's been a couple of months, but he was one of my 5 for 5, so I'm not out much money, but I got to reach out to him because I've already reached out to him a couple of times, like, hey, what's going on? I'm really busy, just bought a business, and it was probably June when I signed him up, and I've not heard from him, and I just got to tell him, look, you got to pay for your own subscription.
Keep track of that, guys.
Yep.
Keep track of that.
You really do.
I have a T-sheets like that I knew I was behind, but they just can't get it implemented, but I've been paying the fee. And finally I sat down and I went, holy mackerel, they owe me $200.
Yeah, it adds up.
I have for them to do business.
I have a client on Qbox. And so tonight, and I've been paying for their folder, is they were originally on Dropbox, and I said, no, I won't work on that on Dropbox. I'll move it to Qbox, and I've got a folder in April, and so I've been paying. I paid $60 so far, for it, and so but they don't want to pay me to do it, and I gave them like 2 or 3 hours free. They set up an account that they named Sales Income. Okay, you know what kind of account it was? It was an expense account. And they didn't understand why their profit and loss was so screwy. And I had to explain that for like 20 minutes before they got that an income account is not an expense account.
Right.
It needs to be an income account.
That's someone who could so use you, Linda, but so they have no clue. Yeah.
I just talked to Qbox too because I wanted to make sure. So tonight, I'm going to work with her on the phone to move it out of my Qbox folder over into her desktop. And what happened is they actually signed up for a Qbox account back in May. They never created a folder.
Oh, so they were paying for it too.
Well, they weren't because they didn't have a folder. You pay per folder, not per account. But
right.
It's like,
hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Anyway, so then, and the people at Qbox were really helpful. They'll work with them on Monday to get them to set up. I said, because that way, as soon as I close their folder and I've got their data out of it, close the folder, then my Qbox will disappear from their computers. And they won't configure, because right now, if they put a folder in their account, they're going to have my account and their account. And I know they'll be confused. So
I have to say, Qbox people are the most amazing. The people behind Qbox are the most amazing people. So much fun. We had a blast.
I love that.
Love Qbox.
Shared a booth with them in Accountex, and that was a blast.
Anybody going to Accountex? Because I am this year.
No, we're going to Kentucky.
Oh, that sounds nice.
Well, you'll have to let us know how it is, Linda.
Yeah.
I'm going to video. I'm going with a friend of mine, and I'm going to do some videoing. So I'm going to have some fun.
Very
I'm going to be visiting my grandkids. So
that's right.
Even better. That's right.
I'll have a wicked accent when I come.
That's true.
So we're finally going to talk about 1099 NECs. Shannon, do you want to tell us what NEC stands for?
The NEC stands for non-employee compensation, which right now goes on a 1099 miscellaneous box 7. But in 2015, when they passed the Protecting Americans from Tax Hikes Act, that changed the requirement for W-2s and non-employee compensation to be reported not only to the taxpayer by January 31st, but to the Social Security Administration and the IRS by January 31st. Because what was happening was identity thieves were using the lag time between the time when the forms went out till the time that the IRS required that the forms be submitted to submit millions of dollars every year of fraudulent tax returns. So,
Yeah, because we used to wait till March 31st. We'd wait right to the end, so
Absolutely.
we could make corrections if we needed to. Yeah.
Well, that was the thing. That was the thing. I don't know how many times I've done a 1099 and had them come back and say, well, here's a correction.
Right. So that's why we loved having the whole 3 months to, you know,
well,
we got that final in. But those days are gone.
it's a lot easier to correct a 1099 than a W-2, though.
True.
That's absolutely true. Absolutely true. But how many 1099s can we have? I'm still blown away by the 1099K. I'm sorry. But
Well, the problem is different boxes had different due dates, right, Shannon?
Yeah, so with on the 1099 miscellaneous, only box 7 had the earlier due date. The rest of them still kept the original March 31st due date. So if you would submit a 1099 non-employee compensation box 7 form with other boxes like box 1 for rent, and I forget what all the other boxes are, but I know
interest, lawyer fees, yeah.
And you know, so say it's February 3rd and you submit a non-employee compensation box 7 along with rent, the rent one would also be marked late, and you would have penalties and interest tacked on with those, because if they were in the same packet on the same 1096, the IRS system cannot have multiple due dates for one form.
Right.
The other one was called Stone Ridge, but I'm pretty sure the one that broke was Rockwood.
Let
I
me
have the receipts right here.
There we go.
Sorry.
Sorry. Working.
I know, I'm instinctively going to mute her, and I'm like, I can't, I'm not the host.
I know, I'm like clicking. I'm like, I don't help it. So the IRS didn't think that through, did they? So,
no, you know, and
yeah.
and the act was passed in 2015, and it began for tax year 2016. So there wasn't a lot of time, because everybody knows the IRS just moves super slow because they're very.
That's how they do.
Dinosaur when it comes to equipment and software.
Yeah. But so apparently it took them a lot of years to get this figured out. So it's going to begin with tax year 2020, is that we're going to have the non-employee compensation separated from.
Oh, it's not 19?
Nope.
So that means when you do your taxes for the end of this year, you're fine and still doing it the old way.
Yes.
That means we're not going to have any penalties, though, because a lot of mine have both boxes. See, I get them in on time, but if you file in February and it's got rent on it, that's what happens. They couldn't penalize you for the late box 7 because.
No, they would do it the other way.
They were penalizing you anyway?
Yep. So they would pick if you sent something with box 7 in February or March, everything in that packet would be marked late, because they would put the January 31st due date in there. So
I electronically file, so I don't, you know.
So are they keeping the old 1099 miscellaneous forms?
Not the way it looks, because box 7 would have to go away.
Box 7 will have to go away, then the 1099 NEC will be connected to the 1099K, because the K is if you make your payments to the vendor through third party, is it credit card, or it's not ACH, it's not debit, but it's credit card.
Right, anything through a merchant service, yeah.
Anything through a merchant service. And with a different amount. So
a 1099K doesn't need to be sent out until there's $25,000
right
employee compensation, but most of the time I get them anyway.
Yeah,
I've never had
it's so hard to track that. I mean, it really is.
We don't have to track. I mean, we don't have to track that. Businesses don't have to track it because the merchant services are preparing those.
We need to know how it was paid.
We have to be careful to separate how we pay bills because
That's what I'm talking about. Keeping track of it. You need to be able to separate that, and a lot of people don't.
QBO, a CPA was posting this guy's checkbook with QBO, and he's just accepting all the expenses, right? Well, it was a mixture of debit cards and paying bills online. I am now having to go back month by month looking at the statement, and I have to put debit or something as a reference number. Otherwise, it won't exclude it. I mean, there's no way to do 1099s without fixing a year's worth of reference numbers. And there's no fast way to fix reference numbers but go entry by entry. So I'm looking for some cheap labor.
That's my point. That's my point in a nutshell.
Burden, well, even though they're doing the 1099Ks, the burden is on us to exclude them from a 1099.
And I wonder how many people are not. And that double files for certain people.
Right. So if Box 7 now has its own 1099, and we get to put rent and equipment on another 1099, that just increased the number of forms that I'm processing. So it's costing the client more money. I mean, I'm making more money per form, but you know.
But you've also got to have that system set up to track it too, like you said. Where when you get to the end of the year, you can't figure out, you know, how much has been really paid, you know, by debit, how much was paid by credit card.
Right.
Oh, right. And then the business owners get confused because I had this happen so many times last year where they paid some of their subcontractors or their suppliers with PayPal. And they paid some of them with ACH. Mm-hmm. And they're like,
for a little bit of both.
Right. And they're like, well, you know, so-and-so needs a 1099 because I paid them more than $600. Like, no, you paid them $500 with ACH and you paid them $700 with PayPal. They don't get a 1099 from you.
Right.
So it's so hard to you know, trying to explain that and to some of the business owners, especially when they're thinking, oh, we need to pay them this 1099,
and they think all they have to do is run a report. How much did we pay that vendor?
Right.
Yeah.
But this is interesting. On my vendor list, I have two different vendor names. I have the vendor name, and if we pay them with PayPal, I have after their list name, parentheses, PayPal. So if we pay them with PayPal, I can get a report for how much did we pay that vendor with PayPal. And I also have the vendor name without that after it, so that I know how much I paid them out of, you know,
the other methods,
checks and that.
I can
so
if your cash basis, that would work. But now I do separate vendors for reimbursements because I really like to separate the no 1099 and the 1099. But if I put in accounts payable,
but 1099s are always cash basis.
Or a ACH or a check or whatever at the point I'm putting in bills.
Yeah, but the 1099.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we don't, for most of my clients, we don't do bills and bill payments.
Yeah,
there's some that we do, but the ones where I do the PayPal thing, and it's just easier. And sometimes what I do is I'll leave them on the other names list. Because on the other names list, you cannot make them a 1099 vendor. They have to be on the vendor
There you go. That's right.
Do that in online though.
Well, and then the problem I'm having is, like, I put my foot down with one client and I said either credit card or check. But what's happened is they're starting to get little QuickBooks invoices because their contractor or their vendor or whatever uses QuickBooks, and they want to poke that button and pay.
Yeah.
Then I have no receipt. they'll forward me an email, and I'll go, no, the email says to click here to get, the email doesn't help me. And there's a disconnect. See how there's a disconnect in workflow?
Wow.
I guess it depends on if you're doing the bookkeeping versus after the fact, I guess, but.
Yeah.
How many people have had pro advisors, and how many people are trying to do it on their own? So the people trying to do it on their own have no clue about this, or even why it's even important.
And you know, I'm
Right.
trying to find, I have no bills for all, you know, in certain transactions. I'm like, where's the bill? Oh, it's in an email. I'm like, well, your email's not a storage. It's different storage. And I'm like, well, they know
Who's going to find that a year from now, right? When you need it.
Exactly. So, yeah, it's
I can see more fun to come. Although I have to say that I think it's going to be a lot easier to file for states. More states are now wanting to see 1099.
Oh, they're not doing the joint. Yeah, so far I've been lucky that my states do the joint reporting. They just get it from the feds. Yeah.
Right. But Pennsylvania's one that you have to send it separately. And the reason why is they actually look at those businesses and say, oh, we should be getting sales tax.
Good point. It becomes an audit. It becomes a way to.
It becomes right. So there are vendors that are out of state, never been, you know, in state, shouldn't be subject to sales tax, but they do meet the 1099 requirements. So the states are going after them and saying, where's our tax? And they're saying, well, we don't have nexus.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a pain to prove that. And if you don't have good bookkeeping, you're not going to prove it.
Yeah, proving nexus is becoming huge. I just learned, well, I don't want to change the topic. Yeah, 1099s is going to be, well, and the thing is, I do everything electronically, so I don't have to worry about forms. But on the paper form, I've used the same envelopes for years, and I buy them in bulk, and then I print the 1099s, and I don't even use perf paper anymore because you cut it in half and you're done. And I get the nice Xerox, the instructions on the back. So really the only expense for us is the envelopes. And so I'm like, great, a new form. That means I have to have a new envelope.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll change now.
Because both forms are going to be reconfigured. But we do a lot of artist winnings, like for competitions and awards and things like that. So those are box 3. And a lot of the festivals will pay an artist to perform. So that's box 7. But then they'll bring a piano with them and then rent them the piano. You know, so they've got that.
Right.
So now I have to do 2. Well, no, I can't. I can't just file it early for the equipment rent. I have to have 2 forms.
No 2 ways around it.
No 2 ways around it. Yeah.
So we shall see what we shall see. More fun to come on a simple, easy form.
So we've seen the NEC draft, the 1099. Have we seen a draft of the miscellaneous?
They have not released a draft of the miscellaneous yet.
Okay.
And if I can share my screen, I can show what the
1099 NEC draft is.
Yes. So this.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah, we had that screensaver this morning. It's so pretty.
So I'm seeing your screen, but not the 1099 yet.
Okay, it's
Other monitor.
no, it's
Beautiful picture of an ocean.
Screens
Very
too.
nice.
Where is that?
Ireland.
Ireland, yeah.
Very pretty.
Ireland. Oh,
Cliffs of Dover.
There we go.
there we go.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Sorry
What
about
else is
that.
on there?
Okay.
Box 7 is now box 1.
Yep. So you've got the payer's information. the payer's TIN, the recipient's TIN, all the recipient's information.
Wow.
Box 1 is non-employee compensation. 2 is if the payer made direct sales of $5,000 or more of consumer products to the buyer for resale. So that's new. They didn't used to track that.
That isn't on the regular, the old 1099?
I thought it was, but on a different.
They called it something else. I forget the names.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't deal with that. I deal with
I've never had a client do
things
that.
for resale,
I've had one in all the years.
Mm-hmm.
And then box 3 is left blank. Box 4 is for federal income tax withheld.
Backs.
Yep. And thankfully, I've never had to deal with holding back I've withheld it, but before the end of the tax year, they've supplied me with the information I needed so that I could.
As a tool, as a threat.
Yep.
Withhold it and then hold on to it. And that'll wake them up, doesn't it?
Mhm.
I don't want my money.
Well, yeah, because they're like, well, I don't need to supply this. I'm like, well, I'm withholding, it's 22% this year of your pay.
24.
Until I get it, and then I'll give it to you.
Right.
So wait, go back.
This is what the 1099 NEC looks like.
Oh, there's a
used.
blast from the past. See how simple it was?
We didn't go down to box 5. That's state information down there. So they are including state information.
Right.
Your state withheld, yeah.
And they do on the 1099 miscellaneous right now. But there's a lot of states, and Minnesota is one, that if there's no requirement to submit the 1099s to the state unless they've withheld tax.
Right. Georgia's that way. Yeah.
I expect that to change. Like Pennsylvania, that's the way Pennsylvania is using a way to try and get cash out of other people that they're not.
I wish I could remember the state. We sent a 1099 to somebody. They'd met them online. They did a little graphic project. It was like $700 or something. I sent them a 1099. Forget which state it was. Darned if I didn't get a call. I got a call. Why aren't you registered in this state? Where's our state taxes? You're making money. I'm like, who are you? Once I explained the whole situation, I'm like, we've never even been to your state. Then they backed off, but I thought, oh my goodness.
But they do come at you with both barrels, and you know enough to say, wait a minute, let's talk. Would a client know to do that?
Well, yeah, the client sent me the letter, and I called.
The client says, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm not in compliance. How much money do you want?
Take my money.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just pay you to make this go away.
Right.
Exactly.
But now California's doing this. They're really cracking down on. Well, the feds already have the laws in place. But they're still so gray. They're still not saying exactly this kind of labor should be on a W-2. You still have to interpret, okay? So now California's coming out and going, oh, we're going to solve this. You do this, you're an employee. But it's a little out of control.
A lot out of control.
I mean, yeah. Now, if I'm a catering company and somebody is self-employed as a caterer, and then I hire them to help with my you've got a catering and a catering. I can see that. Or one of y'all with your own business helps me out for a day on a project. We're in the same business, and they're trying to say that I have to put you on the payroll for that project.
That's what they're saying. That's what California's saying, and they're putting it into law. Our state legislature just passed what's called AB 5, Assembly Bill 5.
Yeah.
And once if the Senate passes it and the governor signs it, Uber, Lyft, none of those people they'll all be W-2 employees. And the other thing
in those cases, you've got a person who's only working for that company. So that's another thing that the feds will
Got
say.
it.
One of the 20 questions, you know, if I have a bookkeeper who says I'm self-employed, and I go, but you're working for one client, or where's your business card? How are you advertising? How are you know? And then they're like, and then you find out that the company they're working for said they told me I had to be an LLC, and so I went and got an LLC, and I'm like,
Yeah. It turns out
I see how they need to protect the peoples, but I don't know.
most Uber and Lyft drivers work for both companies.
They do.
They work for Uber and they work for Lyft.
They just changed their sign or something.
Yeah, yeah. No, I know. I have a lot of friends that do that because they can't get enough business with one company or the other, so they do
Well,
both.
see, then they excluded accountants, but depending on where you are, define an accountant.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, big
Good
difference.
luck with that.
Big difference in the jobs that are being done.
So, and consultants, you know, they want to go after consultants, but you can have a really good business consulting, advising. Here we go. Huh. I don't know that your state, man, I don't know how you keep up with it. I mean, I understand protecting the public, but the poor companies, at some point, the burden of all this.
Well, yeah. When does it become too burdensome for a small business owner to be able to handle it?
There's a lot to put up with for that nice weather.
You can come to Florida. It's a very business-friendly state.
That's right.
No income tax. No income tax.
No income tax.
That's
Payroll. I used to do a lot of payroll down there, and there was nothing to that.
No corporate tax either. I had fun when I was in Rhode Island. It was $500 per business, and then it went up to $6 or something. Well, maybe just $5, and now it's $4. But for each business, unfortunately, we still have businesses up there, so we still have to pay. But it came down. The first thing I did was shut down Rhode Island bookkeeping, which is what my business was named, and moved it here and changed the name and saved $500 right away. And then got to raise my
states that do the LLC fee or something.
There's there's usually a filing fee, like $150 or something.
Yeah, but I can see a filing fee. But well, I know that here the attorneys will say if you own 5 rental properties, you do 5 LLCs. I mean, they do LLCs.
Yeah, we had the properties so long that they were S corp when there was no such thing as an LLC back in the day. So we have 5 properties in the S corp and 1 in an LLC now. We sold one that was in another LLC, so we got rid of.
We don't have like an annual. I know I have to register with the state, the Secretary of State. Used to be $30. I think it's up to $50. But what is it? California? It's like $700 a piece.
800, I think. Yeah.
Wow.
Is that a one-time fee or annually?
Annual.
Corporate fee.
Oh, yeah.
Per corporation.
Absolutely.
Oh, gosh.
The state of California gets you coming, going. On the sales tax returns you do, they expect you, and as a matter of fact, they expect citizens to file use returns.
Use tax.
Yeah,
Well,
they
I
do
think a lot of states do, especially with so much stuff on the internet, because it's the sales and use tax return in just about every state that I've ever
That's
read.
right.
The and use where they get you. Oh, so we're running out of time, but I want to tell you what I spent a couple hours on dealing with the state.
Yeah.
Client now wants to start selling stuff, so I need a sales tax number. Okay. Well, you used to be able to fill out the form. So I got all the board members, social security numbers, and home addresses. I'm ready. You can only do it online. Okay. I go online. Well, they switched over to ADP for their payroll years ago. Okay. So in order to log in, you have to know to make a login. So it's like, what was the last tax payment? I'm like, okay, so I have access to ADP. And what's the zip code? And I'm thinking, oh, here we go. Nonprofits, you know, they use every address under the sun. They've got a treasurer in this state. You know, it was
right.
in this state, and yes, they've been sort of in the same spot for a while, but who knows, And so the Secretary of State, the annual registration is current officers, current address, and everything. So anyway, I did it 3 different times. Locked me out.
Oh.
4 hours. So I called Atlanta. I thought, well, here we go. And she was really nice. And so I'm like, and she goes, and you work for this company? I'm like, yes, ma'am. I said, how do I prove? You have to get past 2 of the questions to prove before she'll talk to you. So I came up with the right amount. I had to throw a whole bunch of numbers at her because ADP's payment hadn't hit yet.
Right.
So really the last payment was due. So anyway, I'm like, how about this number? How about this number? She goes, bingo. Okay.
That's when you'd want to hire Shannon, because you can just get Shannon on the phone. You don't have to go through all that corporate.
Yeah.
The girl get somebody to speak to.
Funny because I said, I hope you like puzzles because I'm digging. So anyway, so I said, it won't take the zip. She said, nope, that's not it. I said, okay, how about this address? Nope. I said, can you give me a hint?
Oh.
Nope. So I'm like, hold on. And she said, sure. So I had her on the phone. I'm pulling up 990s. Year after year after year. I'm finding addresses like you wouldn't believe. And then the address that ADP has is a Georgia agent. You know how you'll hire an agent?
Right.
Yeah. And I'm like, it has to be them. Nope.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So I'm like, what other address? Home addresses, just everything. So we were on the phone forever. I'm like, doggone it. So finally she goes, hold on, let me escalate this to, and I'm like, please, somebody just believe me, She's gone for a while and she came back and she goes, guess what? I said, what? She said, well, we received a change of address request to the first address I tried. Oh, great. And she said, and I'm like, when did you receive that? She goes, a year ago. I said, you've got to be kidding. She says, we're fixing our system right now. I'm like, where has it been? Is it on somebody's desk?
Right. Oh my gosh.
So now I have the amount and I have the zip code. I'm like, great. Can you unlock the account? No, it's 24 hours. Oh, God. I got to do this tomorrow. I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. Because the manufacturer that's doing the product needs the sales exempt, the sales exempt form. Yeah. So they're trying to charge us, thousands of dollars in sales tax. So finally, I'm like, just pay them a deposit. We'll get the invoice fixed before we get the final payment. But
right.
And this is probably just typical, is clients will make a decision. You find out about it, and then you're running behind them going, well, I gotta get.
It's like the end of the, what was the cartoon? Where they have the parade that comes along, and then there's the guy sweeping.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sweeping.
Fractured fairy tale.
Oh, fractured. Yeah. So I'm like, what? You're doing what? I need a sales tax number. But it just shows you, and I told the lady, I said, the disconnect between the Georgia Secretary of State, which has current information, is not telling the Georgia Department of Revenue. And with these you can imagine the old.
I think that's typical across all states, like you said.
None of them talk to each other.
Yeah.
There's nothing triggering.
They use
when you start filing returns online, even though you did paper returns, they're keying off of that ID number. They're not looking at addresses. There's nothing to trigger that. ADP has been filing these Georgia returns and that the address is different. There's nothing to trigger that. And so then I said, okay, now that I have the right address in your system, what was the other address? It's killing me. Can't tell you.
Couldn't do it.
I said, you gotta be kidding me. After all that time on the phone, you're not gonna tell me the address. So. She said, maybe once you get the login tomorrow, it'll show history.
Okay. Okay.
Anyway,
Time to take
that
a
was
break
my
and
Friday.
go play with Penny. That's what that sounded like.
There you go.
Well, we are almost out of time. I want to say some announcements. Linda Artisani, you have a couple announcements.
Yeah, we just surpassed the 500 mark in our community. Matthew's in our community, QB Community Live. If anybody wants to join the Facebook group, please join. It was a dream of ours about a year ago, April, when we decided we wanted to help everybody and we were going to do it with Intuit's community forum, and that fell apart. So we ended up creating the group, and it's been onward and upward, and we're really excited about it. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Congratulations.
Woohoo.
Yeah.
Sarah, you have an announcement?
For Bev Lamarck, if you're watching,
Yeah.
congratulations for becoming a U.S. citizen. I hired her
Congratulations, Bev.
22 years ago, and she's from South Africa, and she and her husband had waited years to win the lottery or something to get over here with his company, and then they got transferred to Iowa. And so now she has her own firm and everything, and we've kept up. And so when she announced it, so 23 years they've been waiting to be up.
That's awesome.
Congratulations, Bev. So we're going to end on that note for this week. We'll see y'all same time, same place next week.
Have a nice
Bye.
weekend.
Have a
Bye.
good weekend.